This is a little bit rambly. I'm still very loopy. I've been sick for a little bit, and I still am. I'm just loopy. I've been loopy lately. But I went this morning, and I was sitting down and talking to my mom and dad, and we were talking about navigating other people. You know, a lot of, and I had a realization about myself this week. I've had a few of them, and one of them is that I actively seek out other people's perception of me, not because I'm looking for them to validate me, but because I'm trying to make sure I stay within emotionally comfortable boundaries of the other person, right? I don't like to offend people emotionally, especially if I can help it. And I know some of that's outside of my control. But I also know that I can be very blunt and very honest and sometimes hurtful without meaning to be any of those things. So I navigate other people. I need other people's perception of me so I know how to navigate so that I can stay within boundaries that are comfortable to them, right? And so in a way, I spent a lot of my life living up to other people's perceptions of me, not for validation, but just to not be offensive, really. I guess that is sort of its own kind of validation, but we're getting into technicalities. And for a long time, I didn't trust my own inner guidance. When people tell you you're weird, right? You've heard me say it a lot, probably in the last year and a half. I'm not wrong. I'm just different. That's been like my mantra for like a year, because there are plenty of things out there in the world that people don't want to acknowledge, and we have a tendency sometimes to stick our head in the sand, or close our eyes and plug our ears and just pretend, just suspend belief. To not to have to acknowledge something for whatever emotional reason that's attached to it. And because I became aware of that, I've been handling situations differently, right? Because the other thing, and I think this goes along with what it's like to be a woman, how much women traditionally, in traditional relationships, when talking to my mom and dad and traditional understandings of what men and women do, women are really sort of responsible for the entire emotional state of everyone else. I think that's why women get tired, right? When men have a job, they go to the job, that's what they do. You have a lot of men who, that's what they do. They go to their job. Their life doesn't change, right? Mom and dad described it this way. Mom and dad went on a vacation down to the beach, and after 2 days of vacation, when it was time to go, mom broke down in tears. And dad didn't understand. For him, it was a weekend. For him, he goes back to doing what he's always done. He goes to work, he makes a paycheck, comes home, because mom's doing everything else. Women end up kind of handling a lot of the emotional stuff. And I don't think that that's necessarily true anymore, especially for generations under me. But for sake of an argument, I've been talking to older people and trying to understand. But so she broke down in tears, because he didn't understand what she was having to come back to. She was having to come back to the care of her father and the care of her 3 children, and, just the weight of anybody who has children and invests in them understands the amount of emotional responsibility, right? And so women sort of weight themselves down with all this emotional responsibility. All the stuff that they've got to be accountable of and aware of, and the schedules that they handle, and or whichever. Maybe it's not always a woman, but again, for the sake of this conversation, that's how we're going to define it, since people like their old definitions, right? So that was my understanding. That's been my understanding of men and women and marriages and hierarchy and relationships in general. But I find navigating people really hard. And physically, I don't understand. I'm always coming at it from the wrong direction, I'm sure. But I have to. I'm learning to trust myself when it comes to certain things, right? So I've been proud of myself in trusting myself. I've spent a lifetime making decisions based on other people's emotional boundaries, what they're comfortable with, in order to feel love, right? Because obviously what I'm seeing, and everybody's telling me crazy, I am wrong. That was my belief growing up. I'm the thing that's different, so the problem must be me. I'm the common denominator, and the easiest target probably. I was really surprised the other day. James and I was taking him to work, and he made a comment about my driving, and I don't think he's realized he's made a comment about my driving like every day the last 5 days. And so instead of what I would have done is just, bridge the gap with compassion, sort of martyr a little bit. I understand, he's stressed out about this, and because I jump in from the other perspective and go like, yeah, like cut me some slack. And I cut some slack, but then I end up resenting it, and it sort of ruins, I get stuck in a little bit of resentment. It's sort of like, geez, I can't. So he made a comment about my driving, and I stopped the car, politely got out, walked around and let him drive, and he looked at me and he said, really? And I said, yeah. Because I realized that by doing that, by expressing what I actually want, which is I don't want to ruin both our days. I don't want to sit in resentment, and I don't want to, if my driving bothers you, then you drive. I'll look at the scenery, which I love. It's great. Problem solved, no hurt feelings, tra-la-la-la. How much problem I actually created by not doing that in the past. And so I was proud of myself for being able to just go like, no, I'm actively choosing me. Because I can trust that I have integrity. And that's about what it comes down to. That's what I've been working on, integrity. Do I have integrity? Can I trust myself? Because I spent a lifetime not trusting my own guidance because I was the common denominator. I'm the thing that's weird, therefore I'm the thing that's wrong, and I'm broken, so I stopped trusting my own inner guidance for quite a long time. And I think that that's damaging for anybody. I think that it's just like religion in church. When you go to church, and I always love the Catholics. You don't read the Bible. We'll read it and we'll tell you what it means, right? Well, that doesn't really float with me. Because so many things, you can read me a passage in the Bible and it may mean one thing to you and it may mean an entirely different thing to me, but help us both. All of life is like that. I think when we hide our pain and when we're hiding our honesty and we're not admitting to the things that we don't like, we're only all hurting each other. It just takes people being emotionally honest, right? I would have resented James all day if I didn't get out and let him drive, which is what he probably wanted to do in the first place. We make everything so much harder. But, yeah, just because you have an inner guidance, that's what I'm saying. And like church, yeah, it's great to go to meet other people who also have it, where you can kind of run into each other. But ultimately, the accountability and responsibility and guidance and all of that stuff falls on you. And yet we all keep trying to avoid it. But life is so much easier, and it's a little painful at first, but it does get easier. And until you're like, you hit a place where you're choosing you in a healthy way, not a selfish way. By choosing me the other day, by choosing me and remaining calm and not escalating and needing whatever, I helped everything. And I think that's awesome. And I'll end that there. I have another thought, but that's I think it would be too strange for most of you. So, have a great day.